The 2025 Ram HDs were unveiled at midnight. I saw them, I watched a couple of videos already. I have to give my opinion here. It will not be popular. Some of you guys are not gonna like my opinion, but it's okay. Because I've come to the conclusion that it's time to talk about truth here when it comes down to pickup trucks. Now, before we get started, what was one thing you wanted to see from this refreshed Ram for 2025? Just one thing. Let me know in the comment section below. I'm on Stellantis' website and they do have the press release here. I think it got released last night. It says here, today Ram unveiled its new 2025 Ram heavy-duty trucks featuring a new 6.7 liter Cummins high-output turbo diesel engine. Ram's latest heavy haulers relentlessly give maximum effort with a unique combination of exceptional comfort, innovation, technology, and capability. Maximum effort. Is maximum effort decreasing your towing and payload numbers for 2025? Okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have went there. We'll talk about that in a second. Now it says here more than 70% of Ram heavy-duty buyers get the diesel. That makes sense because most dealers order the trucks that way and most people don't want to wait for a truck like I do, so they'll just buy what's on the lot. And the Hemi is outdated and it doesn't have the same power figures as the other two. GM has 464 pound-feet of torque. Ford has 485. Ford also has 430 horsepower compared to this engine, which actually got a decrease in horsepower. Don't know why. But the good news is it does have port injection, so you don't have to worry about buildup on the intake valves. It does still use MDS though, deactivation of the cylinders on an HD truck. Okay, I'm done. I won't say anything negative about Ram for the rest of this video. No promises. Now, right here, you guys will see that you now only have two engine options. So 2 engine options, which means Ram 2500 has the same engine as the 3500 now. So high output, 1 engine, you get all the torque. Love that. Now, another thing that they upgraded was this, 342 axle ratio. So in the past, if you got the diesel in a single rear wheel truck, you got the 373 standard, you couldn't upgrade it. For 2025, you can now get the 342 standard with the diesel. And that's in part to the fact that you have an 8-speed transmission. And we'll go through that the further we go down. I also want to point out, people always get mad at me for doing 0 to 60 tests with HD trucks. Ram thought it was important to show you that with this new diesel and transmission option, you have a faster 0 to 60 time. 6.9 seconds up, or excuse me, down from 8 seconds. So, hey, people like to see these things, and that's why I show it in my channel. Now, I'm going to speculate here for a second. The reason why we have a faster 0 to 60 time is in part to the fact that we don't have the Eisen anymore, because they're saying here that the 2025 Ram 2500 now offers the high output, which results in a quicker 0 to 60 time. That 8-second time is for the 68 RFE. The Eisen was slower. So think about that for a second. They've actually really, improved the performance off the line with this new configuration. So I'm excited to drive this truck in the future for sure. Now it does say here a new electronic column shifter and TorqueFlite HD 8-speed transmission are standard equipment on both engines. So now you have the column shifter versus the dial shifter on the gas trucks. Down below here, it does go over the power figure. So the Cummins has 430 horsepower up from 420 and 1,075 pound-feet of torque, which is the same. Now, obviously some people are going to be disappointed thinking that Ram's going to chase after Ford and beat them, but I have mixed feelings on this. I think that the horsepower and torque numbers don't mean anything if you can't put the power down, because that's something I've noticed about the Ford's high output power stroke. Truck is a rocket ship, but you have so much torque management, it's not really usable power. Just my opinion. Now, the 6.4 liter Hemi has 405 horsepower, 429 pound-feet of torque. The horsepower went down by 5. Don't know why that happened. Doesn't make sense, but the torque stayed the same. And obviously, as I said, towing capacity, payload all went down across the board. And that's in part to probably, well, we'll talk about it in a second. I don't want to jump too ahead here. But yeah, you guys can see here for 2025, the Ram heavy duty lineup includes Tradesman, Bighorn, Lone Star, Laramie, Rebel, Power Wagon Limited, and Limited Longhorn. They did not add the Tungsten from the 1500s, and I think it's because that truck is super heavy, and with the already lower payload capacity we're going to see on this truck, that would just make it even worse. And I don't think they can get those big seats, because if you haven't seen my review on the Tungsten, the seats are a lot bigger and wider, so I don't think they can fit them in this old cab anymore. So hopefully they get on the scene here and update that cab. Now I'm going to skip through some of this. There's a lot of fluff here that we don't care to talk about, but let's talk about this internal updates for this engine. So it says here, a redesigned block and head, robust heavy-duty pistons, new performance intake manifold, a new turbo, larger intake and exhaust valves for improved port flow, and higher pressure fuel system enhance the diesel's hallmark durability and efficiency. We've already talked about this in other videos. They went from a CGI, which is compacted graphite iron. They switched to that in 2019 to 2024. Now they're going back to cast iron. So it's a little bit heavier, which is why we saw lower payload, right? Lower payload because of that. And they also went to a different fuel pump. So I was told CP4X, but it's a CP8. I tried to do some research before I did this video, but I could not find any information on it on Bosch's website. So it is what it is. Now it says here, to make service easier and improve airflow and performance, the new Cummins engines uses improved intake port geometry for top feed injectors, top load lubrication, and integrated fuel filters, helping customers in extremely cold environments. Ram heavy-duty trucks equipped with the Cummins high-output turbo diesel use glow plugs now. Noise, vibration, and harshness were reduced using helical transmission gears. So I'm pretty sure a lot of these updates are going to be for the better. And the CGIs were having issues because there was a few instances where people were seeing holes on the side of the block. And there's a lot of things that people talk about with the CGI. It is lighter, but at a cost of it not being as strong as what we thought it would be compared to cast iron. Now, having the 8-speed transmission, this is probably one of the biggest upgrades that we'll see for this truck. You already saw that 0 to 60 in performance is going to greatly increase, right? But the biggest update is you're going to have a lower cruising engine RPM. Now, when I used to do my 0 to 60 test and my MPG runs, the one thing I noticed at 80 miles an hour, even with the 373, you run over 2,000 RPMs. Having the 342 will now reduce that probably to 1,1800 RPMs. So if you do a lot of highway hauling, that is going to greatly improve fuel economy. So the good news is the 8-speed allows for that 342 to actually make sense. Back in the day when they did the 342 with the 6-speed, it sucked. I hated it because when you were towing, and if you were either climbing a grade or if you just needed to pass someone, sometimes the truck felt like it was lugging, because I feel like it was just too high of a gear with that 6-speed transmission, because the gears are a lot deeper with this 8-speed and your steps are closer. So when you go to downshift, you have more power in every gear. And yeah, that's just the beauty of having that 8-speed transmission. I think that this was probably the biggest update we'll see. Now, I'm not going to bore you with a lot of the interior and exterior stuff, so let's go through this really quickly. New premium LED headlights. So now they're going to have a bifunctional projector, and LEDs are now standard across the board, so you don't have to opt for them anymore. Also, incandescent tail lamps are standard on lower trims. Hopefully we don't see them on the Laramie though. So tail lamps, incandescent, probably on Tradesman, Bighorn for sure. Hopefully they skip out on that Laramie. They also have the Ram boxes returning for 2025, new wheel designs, and improved 12-inch, or you can get the 14.5 on the higher trim levels. Also, the displays will be faster with the Atlantis electrical architecture. They give you the co-pilot screen on the passenger side. It's a 10.25-inch screen. Dual wireless phone charging is available now for this 2025 model for the higher trims most likely. Onboard power. This is probably one of the best things that we got for 2025. I think that for people who do work in their truck, it is nice to have that extra power. I've actually done some tests on the Ford side of the house, just showing you how much it can actually run. So if you have an RV and you're just out somewhere traveling and you unhook and you want to just kind of run your power off the truck, it's just nice to be able to have that function. So 2.4 kilowatts is basically 2,400 watts to give you 2 covered outlets inside the bed. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to say something that's not going to be popular, and some people won't agree with me, and that's okay. Back in the day, trucks have always been used for work. I think most people back then, if they were looking to get a pickup, it's because they either had a trade, they owned a farm, or they just needed to carry stuff. And the bed was just perfect to have for that. Today, we don't use trucks for work. Most people buying a pickup, especially an HD, don't even have a trailer. And so when you consider the fact that we are always looking for the manufacturers to continue to update, make better, that's all fine and dandy. But that is not important anymore. It really is not. This truck is the exact same pickup really from 2019. I mean, when they did a redesign, I guess that's what they called it. We call it a 4.5 gen. This is a 4 3/4 gen. They haven't really changed the most important part of this truck, which is obviously giving it more payload, but really giving it a bigger cab. See, Ford and GM get a pass because they have updated their cabs and their beds within the last decade. Therefore, if they went another 5 or 10 years without updating those things, I think they would still be fine. But Ram's cabs they're just too small, and they don't get a pass on this one. But what I want you guys to understand is this. Yes, it's cool to see LED headlights standing across the board, a larger 14.5-inch display. You get a co-pilot screen on the passenger side. All that stuff sounds good. But what really matters today is reliability. I think that if we can all agree today, before we do any more updates to these trucks, what really matters is the engine and the driveline performing flawlessly. I want to get back to the day where trucks could go 300, 400, 500,000 miles and not even be broken in. We don't really have that today. We have a lot of speculations on why these trucks are failing. Like, for example, Ram, camera lifter failure seem to be a problem. And it could be the customers. It could be, but I don't want to blame anybody. But that is an issue we've seen on these trucks. GM, I have one. The transmissions in those trucks suck. That's not my words. That's from a master tech whose job is to replace them. And he won't even buy one. He actually went back to a 6-speed Allison because he doesn't trust the 10-speed transmissions. And then he had a half ton with the Duramax. I think he had the LZO. And he got rid of that too because he said just too many problems. Same thing goes on the Ford side. Ford, I can't speak to the transmissions, although people have said that they've had issues. My friends who own them, they've all said that it's been flawless. But they have had some power strokes blow up, even for 2023. I did a video on it. So if I had to pick and choose what I wanted in the next truck, bring me reliability. That's what I want now. I don't care about the screens, don't care about any of that stuff anymore. Make them more reliable. I could care less about how big the screens are anymore. That stuff was fun back in 2019, but now that we've seen after the pandemic, stuff just sucks. I mean, these cars suck. All of them. My wife has a Lexus LX600. We had a 2013 Land Cruiser back in the day. That thing was flawless. This thing sucks. And I personally don't think I want to buy anything based off of what used to be. Now is, what can you do now? That is the question I have to all the manufacturers out there. What are you going to do now? Now that the pandemic is over, what are you going to do now? A lot of people say that the pricing sucks and we should stop buying these pieces of crap. I'm kind of there too. Not that they're too expensive. That is a part of it, but the fact that they're too expensive and they suck. Cars suck today. I wouldn't buy a car without warranty. Like personally, I wouldn't buy one without one. That's why I've been typically buying newer cars, because I don't want to be out of warranty anymore. So hope this video was helpful. I am excited about the new Ram truck. I'm excited to show you guys all the new updates, and I'm going to do some other videos. I didn't go over some of the stuff, like for example on the Tradesman, you can now do a bed delete, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I'll build some trucks later this week, and yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. See you soon.